Hey everyone, that's right, it's Wednesday night. Welcome back to Talk of the League, or as I like to call it, let's not get cancelled for another week. We've made it this far, so really appreciate your help in not telling on us. So if you could keep that up, keep liking, subscribing, and everything, that would be great. We've had all sorts of technical difficulties and just all sorts go wrong in the last half an hour, 45 minutes, but I'm delighted that Keane is stepping in for a little bit. Keane, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I was good until a few minutes ago until Phil Foden scored that free kick. But other than that, good to be here for even for a short period this evening. I'm happy to talk not just Man United but just every other team as well, because I feel like there's like a cloud of negativity over this club. So it's good to talk about everybody else for a change.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's nice to because it's getting to the point now where it's so far into the season that because there's so many people to be angry at, it's just not anger anymore. It manifests as something else, and I just start looking for sharp things, objects, because I just don't know who to aim all the anger towards. But I'm also delighted to bring this guy in, Doug. So obviously, I've done shows with you before, interacted with you on social media. I'm so glad that you're on Talk of the League. How are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, honestly, it's so good to have you on. Having done stuff with you before, I know what you're about, I know what you like, and it's really good to have you pretty much host you on where I come from, as opposed to
Yeah.
almost being someone where you come from. So it's really nice for a change. So I will try and I'm sorry that I'm not a good enough host with all the drinks and the party food and everything, but I'll do my best to make you feel welcome.
Thank you.
Let's get straight to it. So as you can see from the title, it's Premier League manager changes. The only other time in the year you'd probably talk about management changes is probably November, because that seems to be when everyone seems to start making changes. Obviously, now we're looking into the summer and next season. Could potentially be a lot of, especially now, some of the big clubs in the world are looking at new managers. You look at Bayern Munich, for example. Thomas Tuchel's pretty much just is gone now. That's how it is. Real Madrid, you always worry with Ancelotti, no matter how good he does, that Perez will somehow find a way to just decide, no, I don't want you anymore for some reason. Like, it always worries that Ancelotti is one bad year away from getting sacked at Real Madrid, which sounds ludicrous, but it's happened before. But you look into the Premier League, obviously, with the ongoings at United and Liverpool, and then smaller clubs like Chelsea, for instance. Doug, I'll come to you first, obviously, with Liverpool.
Yeah.
It looks like the Xabi Alonso thing is over, sadly. It's a shame that Liverpool can't get the best midfielder they had in the 2000s as their current manager. I think it's a smart move, build up more of a portfolio and more of a rep at Leverkusen, not to make the jump too soon. What are your thoughts on that alone?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's very, very good for him to stay in Leverkusen. Because he's done an amazing job there. I think it's always going to be a very difficult task to replace Jurgen Klopp. I mean, whoever comes in is going to be an inevitable, really bad, really tough task to take over. But no, I think I wasn't really getting my hopes up about Alonso, if I'm being honest, because the more the season's been going on, the more I think I've been like you've been obviously seeing like the reports from like Germany saying like Bayern him for him. There's not been too many concrete rumours about Alonso to Liverpool. I mean, I think don't believe everything you read, I think is the message there. But no, I think Alonso's done the right thing in staying in Germany. He's all but got the Bundesliga. I think it's safe to say that. Um, and yeah, it's just a case of who comes in next. I mean, I think if you're looking at the names that have been linked, I think Ruben Amorim is probably the number one choice at the moment. But yeah, there's a certain Spanish club that are wanting Amorim now. So I'm just waiting until the end of the season that I'm just basically enjoying what we have left with Klopp, and then seeing what will happen in the summer.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, we've seen obviously all sorts of names being thrown out in there. When Klopp first announced he was leaving, I thought maybe because of the German style, maybe a German manager of either Flick or Nagelsmann probably would be the better fit. As time's gone on, you see different names coming into the frame. Was it De Zerbi last week? And now it's Amorim this week. I mean, if you had to pick one of the names being mentioned, who is there a standout for you, or is it very much a case of just see what happens?
It's difficult. I mean, the names I've seen being mentioned, I think Amorim is probably the choice, and then I think it'd probably be Nagelsmann. I don't think De Zerbi is going to be on the short list. I'll be honest. I think he's more sort of looking towards sort of Germany, Italy, for next year. I mean, who knows? He might even stay at Brighton. De Zerbi. I think out of the list that I've seen at the moment, I would say probably Amorim, Nagelsmann, or a Hansi Flick. I would take one of those three. But I think personal choice would be Amorim. I've seen a lot of what he does at Sporting. He plays a very, very good, attractive style of football at Sporting, and I think he could come and do that at Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think personally for me, I think Amorim would be a good fit because I think in this transition phase that's going to happen, quickly let's welcome in Evan. Evan, you are looking
one of boys. Yeah, no, I'm literally only in the door from training, and boys, I am absolutely bet. So I am. We went down for a quick talk, so I was told, and we got down there, and there was just cones everywhere. Disastrous.
No worries. Well, we'll get your thoughts on Liverpool very soon. I mean, back on Amorim, I think with the way this transition is, you look at some of the older players currently in Liverpool, when you've got the likes of Van Dijk, for example, getting on. Salah, I think he's destined for Saudi Arabia. I think Liverpool would be stupid not to take the Saudi money for him. And I think with the way Amorim sets up, especially with the defense, with Van Dijk aging a little bit, I think if most likely Amorim brings like a Gonzalo Inacio with him, and he plays a back three of Van Dijk, Inacio, and Konate, kind of similar to what he's got with the older head and the more physical beast on the right side and Inacio on the left at Sporting. And then the way Robertson and Trent go forward, I think it would suit well. But, I just think that I think for me, Amorim is probably the better fit. But I think a lot needs to be made of the fact that Liverpool's squad is aging. I mean, Keane, I'll come to you, obviously. What do you make of Liverpool's squad currently and how a transition could look? Because we saw it with United firsthand, from Sir Alex with a relatively aging squad that needed to be not rebuilt, but also a little bit remodeled maybe. And we saw David Moyes come in and take the champions from 1st to 7th. Keane, how do you think it could look for Liverpool?
First of all, I don't think it'll be as bad as a rebuild as Man United had to do, because there's multiple factors. I think you have to look at United had no footballing people on the board the minute Fergie and David Gill left, whereas Liverpool have Michael Edwards and a couple of lads in there now, to obviously kind of steady the ship in terms of the rebuilding process. So from that perspective, I think that they've done the right thing rehiring Edwards as Klopp was leaving. In that sense. See, I do think there will be a rebuild at Liverpool, but the thing about it is that I think the first appointment, whoever they get, is going to have a really difficult job in their hands, because not from like a squad rebuilding point of view, because I do think like Liverpool, like Man United, are a self-sufficient club, so they can obviously generate revenue through their obviously having a massive fan base, and effectively if they can probably sell a big player like Salah, and obviously do what they done with like with the Coutinho money a couple of years ago, they can buy a couple of players out of it. But one thing I will say is, from my experience watching United rebuild under Fergie, actually, when Fergie left, sorry, it's all well and good. They might have a little honeymoon period winning a couple of games. But as soon as maybe they lose a couple, I'd be interested to see how the new prospective manager gets on, because, like Fergie, Klopp was there so long. They're used to Klopp's methods. They're used to Klopp's way of doing things. And it'll just be interesting to see how the Liverpool players adapt to it, because they've that kind of figure that similar to what United had with Sir Alex in that sense. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. And as you said, I think the likes of Salah, Van Dijk, I think not necessarily this summer, but I do think that there's a decision that needs to be made on both of them, because I do think Liverpool, if they do it at the right time, they can get money back for the both of them. I think they can get probably close to 100+ million for Salah. Maybe not. They probably won't get the 75 back for Van Dijk, because it's different for defenders at 30 in terms of transfer value. But in terms of forwards, I think they can make money off Mo Salah. It's just the case now, where I look at Liverpool's rebuild. I don't think it'll be as bad as Man United's, because with the board that Liverpool have there, they seem to have a clue what's going on. Whereas when Fergie and Gill left, you were looking at Ed Woodward and a banker running Man United, when the amount of bad decisions he made was unbelievable in the first couple of years of his stewardship. And even now, we're still paying for them decisions today in terms of our wages and stuff like that. So I don't imagine Liverpool having as much as a downfall as we had, but at the same token, I do think it might be trial and error for the first maybe a year or two that Klopp is leaving them. They'd have to give the new manager some time. Personally, though, from a Man United point of view, I don't think they should get Amorim at all. I think they should go down this club legend route, hire Steven Gerrard, and give the man a chance.
Yeah, that's a fair analysis. I think Steven Gerrard would be perfect. Seeing Liverpool fans defend him as he takes them down all the way to League Two, I think would be incredible to watch. But all jokes aside, I think I agree with you with the whole Klopp factor. Klopp is a very key component to the way that team is, with the way they play, with the way they are, just everything about them. And I think if you take Klopp out of that team, it's going to be very interesting to see how they are in the future. Evan, I'll come to you next, because obviously you hate Liverpool, like probably just as much as us United.
With a fucking passion, I hate him. But bias aside, like it's going to be a big loss for Liverpool, and the way I see it, it's going to be a seasonal grace period. We'll say it's going to take a season and a half before, and if Liverpool get back to their striking form, when Klopp goes, there's a lot of players going to go. Obviously, the rebuild is going to happen, like he is saying, and it's going to be a heavy toll. I think the only man for the job, like he was saying also, is Stevie G. It has to be the only man. For a club legend like that, right? He's not doing well out in Saudi. The only logical option for him is to come to Liverpool, see how he fares out. It's going to be tough. It could be another Lampard situation where he does absolutely drastically, falls into a hole, and ends up with a team like they had a few years ago with the likes of fucking Lallana and all them. And that was a brilliant fucking time for every other club, so it wasn't Premier League. I love them years. But yeah, no, if they got their money's worth for Salah, but the thing is with Salah, they need to sell not this summer, but next summer if they want to get any. After next summer, I think his value starts going down. If they want to get big bucks from, like I said, the same with Virgil there now, I'd say for Virgil, you could probably get 40 mil, give or take. So if you're getting rid of, so if Klopp is gone, Salah is gone, say Virgil is gone, you'd probably have a few odd ones going then in between then as well. Make some bank, have that grace period of season and a half, whatever it is. Buy in a few decent players, cheapen up budget, and try keep that hole as small as possible. Don't dig yourself in too deep to get to a situation to say that the rebuild takes 3-4 seasons.
Or like maybe 10 years, or maybe 10 years in United's case.
Or even even 10 years the way United are going. Arsenal fell into that same situation as well. I know they won a few fucking few FA Cups over the seasons, but since we say the 04-05 season, since they started going on the flying Arsenal, and Chelsea started picking up. But in terms of whether I want them to do well, fuck no. I think that stands for every other fan other than Liverpool fans. Unfortunately for Liverpool fans, but you're just hated, like. And I love seeing the demise of Liverpool. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing some certain Liverpool fans react to the Amorim news and go on about who's this guy, who's this, he's not this, or they just completely get facts about him so wrong, whether it's how he plays or where he's come from or what.
But the thing is, the second he'll come into the club, they'll be all for him, like.
And that's, do you know what they'll do? They'll win a few games and they'll say he's the best
fans
ever.
Are. Exactly. It's just a deluded cult. No, I'm not saying every Liverpool fan is like that, but majority, I would say 95% of Liverpool fans are it's just a cult, so it is, of absolute deluded people, like.
Yeah.
Sorry, Douglas. No, I know you're sitting there now, and it's tough to hear. Now, I don't necessarily mean you. Like I said, there is a handful that are dead on. I know a few handful of Liverpool fans that are dead on, but you see it all. Just the absolute warriors on Twitter. They'll fucking go like, I guarantee you, if the second he comes in, oh, this lad is the best ever in the Premier League. We're gonna win everything. Oh, Klopp era was number one when they only won one Premier League, but still, Klopp era was fucking better than Pep. All this shit, bollocks, fucking bollocks. Excuse my language, sorry for cursing, but it's just
you're not sorry. Don't pretend. Don't.
No,
lie.
I'm not sorry.
Your
I'm not
apology
sorry.
means
Fuck
nothing. You couldn't care less.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we've made it clear that none of us want Liverpool to. Well, apart from Doug, obviously, none of us want Liverpool to be successful post Klopp. But yeah, I agree with
and Doug. I just want to say I'm not trying to pick on you, or I'm not trying to sing. Do you know what I mean? I don't want you to feel unwelcomed or anything. It's just, and like I said, I'm not saying you're like this either. But there's a lot of other lads out there. I don't want you to feel
I know what you're doing. You're basically talking about Paddy Murphy and Jonathan Morley and all them.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm going to call him out now? I'm actually going to call him out. Jonathan Morley, you fucking deluded bastard. And Paddy Murphy, you're 10 times worse. You're 10 times. Two of you watching fucking watch-alongs there in your room, and next minute all of a sudden there's big drama there. You're not friends. What's going on, lads? Did you break up or something? Fucking hell, like. Stop being deluded. Come off social media for a good month to a year and give everyone else a fucking break. By God, the two boys wreck my head.
Now, do you know what it is? We pick on Evan all the time, so he's just lashing out now wherever he can.
Out. Do you know what? I'm going to call out the two boys in the boxing match, right? I'll take the two of them on at the same time. Fuck them. Accept the challenge, boys. Accept the challenge.
Doug, I'm really sorry about Evan. He doesn't know how to behave himself.
No,
but
I just lash out. I was off my leash.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Keane, sort him out, will you? You've known him the longest. Doug, final point on Liverpool there. Obviously, this whole Klopp wankfest is continuing to the end of the season. At the moment, it's in your hands, your top. Any worries, any just thoughts in general about the title race going into the end of the season? This is the business end, so.
Well, Sunday. Whenever Manchester United Liverpool comes up, it is one of those games where it's like form goes out the window. We all know it. And you'll be so determined to beat us again, like you were in the cup game. I think in the cup game, I think you deserve to win. I didn't think we were anywhere as good as we have been. I think in the cup game, I think it kind of showed that you were the better team. How it went to extra time, I'll never know. Marcus Rashford had a right foot. He would obviously score past Kelleher. But I think the game could be a bit different on Sunday. I'm never confident going into Old Trafford, especially with how you guys are playing at the moment, and as well, I watched it against Brentford, and it was just two different teams. Like one team that obviously beat beat ourselves by 4-3, and then you got absolutely battered by Brentford and nearly came away with a smash and grab. I think we've got the harder away games. I'll be honest. Like I've seen, like the away games. I think we've got Fulham, Everton, West Ham, and Aston Villa. I think, and obviously you guys as well. So that's obviously the 5 away games that we have. And then I think at home, I think we've got like Crystal Palace. We've got Crystal Palace, Spurs, Wolves, and there's one more, Sheffield United. There you go. So yeah, it is in our own hands. But as I said, nothing is won yet. And I actually think that this could go right down to the very wire. I think this could go to the very last game of the season. And maybe one team maybe falls away, and then it's obviously 2 to battle for. But I can never remember a title race that's had like 3 teams going in it, sort of going into April and into May.
The last one I remember was United, Arsenal, and Chelsea in 2008, and then Arsenal dropped out in April when we beat them at Old Trafford, and then it was like United and Chelsea till like the last day. But yeah, you're right. There hasn't been one like this one in quite a while.
Yeah, I think as well. It's fascinating seeing what will happen as well, and I think as well, Arsenal still got to go to United as well, and I think that could be the pivotal game because I think that's the second last game of the season. If my memory serves me correctly, I think Manchester United Arsenal is the second last game of the season.
Yeah,
that could be pivotal. That game.
Have you predictions, Doug, on whether win or lose for the next, say, 3 games coming ahead? Do you think arrogance, and also do you think arrogance has let a lot of games slip out of your hands?
Because
I think that United game that he lost in the FA, I think that was a very good example of that, of trying to just show up and win a game and underestimating the opponent.
Yeah, I've said all season, Evan. I've said all season that I think if it comes down to where we lost the title, I would say it's the stupid draws that we've had away from home, like Luton away. We probably should have been beaten at Luton. Maybe
that was a crazy
lost.
game. That was a crazy game.
Aye, so I think it's the silly draws as well. The fact is as well, we've not got a very good record against the top 6 this season. I think we've only taken, I think it's 4 points against the so-called top 6. That isn't good enough. You need to have a better record. I think Arsenal are like the top of that table at the moment as well. So, but it's going to be fascinating. As I said, it's going to be fascinating, and I think Sunday is going to be key whether we go on and win the title or not.
Oh, it's a definitely big must-win game for you. To kind of give Liverpool that drive forward. Me personally, right? It's a bit tougher for the United lads here because the only other team, like, I'm not going to put Arsenal in. I think Arsenal die off a slow death. But for the United lads that are here and all around the world, it's a tough choice between either ye win it, Liverpool, or City. Me personally, I don't mind City winning it. I'd rather City win it a lot more than to see Liverpool win it. Now, for the boys, it might be a different story. Touchy subject, City, United. I can't see this game being a big factor in it.
Do you know what? It honestly, with the way we are United, it could be a tap in for you, or we could surprise ourselves. That's literally what it could be. I mean, like, it's for some reason it always seems over the years actually that when we go into the Liverpool games, we hope we're in form. It never seems to be for us that it has to be. Form goes out the window like it does for you guys. I've seen you guys finish 7th under Rafa, but still beat us at Anfield, even if we've been in better form. So for me, that's the one thing I worry about with United. I worry that form does play a part. Our wins against the Big Six tends to be in occasions where we're in a good run of form. There are outliers in some instances over the years, but very much it seems.
Sure, Julio,
to be honest, it is an underrated rivalry, being honest, and they are underrated match. It's an absolute scrap heap when United and Liverpool come together, like absolute scrap. It's a mad game, really.
We were in form last year before we went to Anfield, and we got bet 7-0. So form really does go out the window.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, in the victories, our victories seems to always come when we're in a good run of form, and then our defeats either shock us or they tend to be with the form.
See, I think this game is still the biggest in English football. You know, you can have your Manchester derbies, you can have your Man City, Liverpool, you can have your Liverpool, Chelsea, but this game.
You're wrong, Doug. You are wrong there. You are definitely wrong there.
Evan, he's absolutely right. Evan, it's the biggest. They're the two biggest clubs in England. The two biggest supported clubs in England. The two most recognisable clubs that ever graced the English game. And not only that, look at the trophy haul between both teams. Are you honestly telling me there's a bigger rivalry in English football than Man United?
Look, it's a show in itself, really. You can get into heaps of different factors.
I've been to them games, Evan.
There is shouts for others.
Evan, I've been to United and Liverpool games. The hatred between the fans is fucking lethal. When you go to Old Trafford, I haven't been to Anfield for United and Liverpool, but I can tell you one thing: at Old Trafford, when you're at United and Liverpool, the hatred between the fans is different level, and the atmosphere is different level between both teams. And like the two lads alluded to, like the rivalry between these two clubs, there's so much history there. Sean's on about bigger rivalries there. Like, come on, I don't even know who Chelsea have a rivalry with since United in 2008. To be fair, maybe Arsenal down the years, but like, these two teams, no matter where they are in the table, like the games between the two of them, there's so much hatred there. There's so much bragging rights, at stake. Now, the one thing I will say about this rivalry, and we haven't seen it since the late 80s, kind of early 90s, is that these two teams, when they've been rivals with each other, they've never fought for a title consistently against each other. Anytime it's either Liverpool on top or it's United on top. We've never actually seen a United-Liverpool rivalry where both the teams have been on top. Now,
for an extensive period. We've seen
for extensive period,
one season, but
we haven't like between both clubs. We haven't had like an extended period where we've both gone for the title. Like, during a rivalry, I think what the most recent one was 08-09, and then it's been obviously topsy-turvy since kind of Fergie left. There's been a couple of seasons where Ollie finished head of Klopp for a couple of seasons, but there wasn't an actual rivalry there. And then obviously there's been seasons where Liverpool have gone obviously to challenge for the title in another couple of years. So it's not like a case where both teams have been on top as rivals, but I do think it's just a case of, I think if we're ever going to see that, I think we're going to have to hope that Man City get found guilty of 115 charges, because as long as Manchester City are there, I don't think Man United and Liverpool would ever be in my opinion anyway, will be long-term rivals at the top of the table fighting for a league title as long as Man City are present at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving, actually,
115 charges are just, it's going to,
you know what? It's
like Keane
really
said,
great.
it's going to blow the whole thing open.
It's really great that Keane brings up City, small club, charges over them potentially, a lot of money put into the club. Evan, get back here. There he is. Evan, your club, small club, Chelsea. It's all a mess right now. Is there a chance that the manager gets changed any point soon?
It's if Pochettino is going, it is after this season. Like, will we get in? I honestly don't know. Do we take Tuchel back? Does Jose come back? Do we get someone brand new in? I'm genuinely not too sure. Like,
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Doug, do you think Chelsea will make a change? Do you think they need to make a change? Do you think they should let it marinate for a couple of years with all the players they've brought in and stuff? How do you look at the Chelsea situation?
I'd be very surprised if Poch is there by the end of the season. I'd be very shocked.
Oh no, he'll definitely be there at the end of the season. We can't afford it at the moment to get rid of him. Like,
no, I think look, I think Chelsea's season again hasn't been great. I think there's been a few standout players. I think Cole Palmer has been a very good signing for Chelsea. Obviously, I know Chelsea play Manchester United tomorrow, and again, that isn't it mad that actually a couple of years ago you would have probably said Chelsea against Manchester United was one of these big games, and yet nobody is even speaking about it. I'll be honest, I don't think Chelsea.
I think that comes down to form on us. I think that comes down to being honest. I think that comes down to Chelsea. Being honest, we haven't been the best evidently this season. We're sitting in 12th at the moment. It's just not looking good. Like,
yeah. As far as who could come in, I mean, I think the logical choice would probably be Thomas Tuchel potentially coming back. But again, I can't see. I think there's always a saying. I don't think you shouldn't really go back to your old club and have a second stint at it.
It worked out for Jose though.
Yeah, it did. It did work out for Jose. I mean, I'm surprised Amorim isn't a target for Chelsea. I've been very,
very. is probably higher up on the list. But sure, we know he's destined for Liverpool. He is destined for Liverpool, so like we can't take Stevie G.
You might even hire someone completely unknown who's not even in the shortlist, like a Simone Inzaghi or someone like that. Like, he's done a magnificent job into Milan, and there is talk that he could potentially be, on his way out as well. But I think if Poch goes, I do expect Chelsea to get somebody good and
watch
like
us get Southgate. If we got Southgate, I would actually off myself. No, but he's destined for United, so it's all good.
No, the dream is for him to go to Liverpool.
No chance.
Southgate in Liverpool, I need that. We need that.
Julio, you can dream all you want, mate. There is no way Gareth Southgate is in the Liverpool shortlist. No way.
Yeah, maybe they've got a bit of sense. Keane, anything to add on Chelsea, or should I just move on to someone else?
Look, I think we kind of discussed it last night in the preview for the Chelsea game. I don't think I see Poch leaving until the summer, but you never know. If Chelsea win the FA Cup and get Europa League football, it's a massive improvement on last year because they had no European football this season.
That's a low bar. That's a very low bar.
No, but hear me out. Hear me out for a second. If they get Europa League football, I think considering the domestic campaign, it would be a good way to kind of rebuild because they'd have European football. They'd help the young players get a bit of exposure. Poch has a good track record with young players. Maybe give him a bit of time. You never know. Maybe he could stay if they win the FA Cup.
It's a big if, though. If we win the FA Cup, and it's looking very unlikely that we will, though.
Yeah, I know. We'll smash you in the final. No, I'm only best.
We definitely won't get to the final.
No, look, to be fair, Coventry will probably turn us over, to be fair, anyway. Being honest.
I hope Keane is half right. I hope he's half right in the sense of Chelsea make it to the final, but then they just lose to whoever they get in the final.
The final would be tasty.
What would be worse? Right, what would be worse, Evan? I'm going to ask you a question, right? I know Julio's the host, but I'm going to throw this out to Evan, right? Just hypothetically speaking here. What would be worse? Losing to Liverpool's kids in the final of the Carabao Cup, or losing to Coventry or Manchester United in the FA Cup final?
I'd rather lose to Coventry than Liverpool. I fucking hate Liverpool. That killed me losing to Liverpool. Our loss against
What
Everton
about
hit
losing
you
to
as
Man
hard.
United and having to listen to me all summer?
That'd be fucking bad as well. But
You'd
I
have to
could
listen to
block
me on
you,
pro
like, it's
clubs every
grand.
single night. Like,
it's hard to block every single Liverpool fan out there. See, you're not as deluded as the Liverpool fan, so it's all right. Like,
look, I can be a bit of a bastard though.
but the thing is, you're still slagging me over 2008 Champions League. So like,
hey, it's because John
fucking
Terry moved that captain's armband up on his shirt. Joe, he wanted all the headlines. He wanted that 5th penalty, and then he fucking slipped.
Oh,
Of fucking course, on the biggest stage in fucking football. That moment's gonna live forever. Same
you
way
couldn't write it.
Same way Aguero lives forever. Same way Solskjaer has won it. Same way Istanbul lives forever.
Stevie G
That moment,
flipping.
like that moment is living forever. Same way Aguero.
Yeah.
Same way Solskjaer. Same way, you know, Istanbul. Same way even if I want to make an international football. Even if I want to make an international football analogy, Joe, when Robbie Keane got that fucking 90-minute equaliser in the World Cup against Germany, do you know what I mean? There's loads of moments that just live in history. And no, look, I know it's years ago, Evan. I know I give you the odd slagging about it, but like, it is a moment that, look, it's a massive moment in United's history and in Chelsea's history. So I'm obviously going to bring
sure,
up
yeah,
any
look,
time in your company.
Which is fair enough. Like, if it was the other way around, I'd never stop talking about it. I'd have it tattooed on my chest. But sure, look, yeah, no, it's all banter. They take nothing hard unless it's Liverpool. Fuck them.
I love the fact that JT and Steven Gerrard cost their team big trophies.
You really couldn't write it. If you were writing a movie on it, you wouldn't have put it in. Like,
the English are bottlers.
Hey, Paul Scholes never done that, did he?
No. Rio didn't do it. So many other players didn't do it. I just still can't believe that 2008 final had so much English talent on the pitch and they weren't even going to go to the Euros that summer.
Yeah, that's some fucking Steve McLaren. Like, seriously, Steve McLaren that year for England really fucked that generation of players over. Because, like, what was it on the pitch in the 08 final? And I know actually none of us here are actually English, by the way. I know Doug's Scottish, Evan's Irish, I'm Irish, and then Julio is Albanian. Is Albanian Julio? Yeah, I got that right. Thank God. If I didn't, I could have really went down a rabbit hole there.
You would have been cancelled.
Yeah. But isn't it mad when you look at that Champions League final in 08? I know we're talking about changes in clubs, and we'll get back to that. But isn't it crazy how I think was it 10 English players that played in total that game? And you include starting 11.
Wes Brown at right back. You had Rio and JT as the centre backs. You had Ashley Cole as the left back. You had Carrick, Scholes, and Hargreaves all on the pitch. You had Rooney on the pitch. You had Joe Cole and Lampard on the pitch. There's some good players in there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Quality team. Like,
isn't it crazy? You look at all them England squads down the years. You look at all these England squads down the years, and how the fuck have that country not won an international trophy? It's crazy.
They should have been winning everything.
It's madness. It's madness, especially that golden generation. If you look at England from, let's say 2003 to 2009, 2010, they should at least won one World Cup or one Euros. I think Euro 2004, Rooney's injury killed them in that Portugal game, and then like 2006, I don't know, like again. You know, Rooney cost them by getting sent off. It's crazy. Like it's madness how they haven't won anything. And now they have their best crop of players since best squad, let's say, in terms of depth since 1966. And if they don't win the Euros this year, well, I mean, are they ever going to win anything?
All sorts of things, like Southgate. The Euros, the last Euros, in the final, pretty much a home tournament as well. England played all
bringing
but
on
one
Jordan
game
Henderson
at Wembley
in the final, and starting Calvin Phillips.
Well, no,
criminal.
Calvin Phillips had a good tournament, had a good Euros. The problem was one shot on target in the entire 120 minutes.
Yeah,
you take a 1-0 lead after 3 minutes. 3 years on from the Croatia game in the World Cup to the day. Take an early lead. You sit back all game and try and hold it. You don't kill the game off in the first half. You concede around the hour mark, and then it goes beyond full time, and then you lose it in a very heartbreaking manner. Both games are exactly the same. And then I put it down to the manager, Southgate, and his lack of experience, because his coaching CV is Middlesbrough and getting them relegated, England under 21s. Fair play to him. He's taken the England pressure off the players, because there's always been that England pressure that's held the players back over the years. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but going into tournaments, England have been very subpar. They've not really been that great. And I just think that there's been a lot of spineless and poor game management with Southgate. Take the France quarterfinal at the World Cup. You're 1-1. The momentum's with you. Sterling's not been doing anything all game. That was the moment you should have taken him off and brought on an informed Rashford, who would have had that high line on strings. Koundé at right back wouldn't have been able to deal with him. But you didn't do that. And then when you bring Rashford on, what is it? You're 2-1 down. Your captain's just about to miss a penalty. And it's just poor game management. And we've seen instances of, like, he brought on Rashford and Sancho 2 minutes before full time of extra time. I think you should have gone on and tried to win the game. And in those games, like the Italy game, for example, we'll move on in a bit, but I will just say this point here. In the Italy game, Southgate compared to Mancini, who would you want in a final as your manager? Mancini's got experience of winning things. He knows how to win things. Tournament football was his thing. Southgate has won nothing. This is a guy who's managed to get Middlesbrough and England relegated. I didn't think that was possible. And yet Southgate has managed to do that. And he did that 6 months before the World Cup.
Possibly choosing to take it over, I tell you. It's lined up. It's all lined up. To be like,
you know what? England have such a good crop of players right now. If the FA had balls about them, they'd sack Gary Northfence and they'd give Mourinho or Ancelotti an 8-game contract in the summer. Watch one of them win the tournament with these players. It's never going to happen. But if the FA had balls about them, they'd do it. It's got to the point now where it's just, you can't just keep like rewarding mediocrity. And it's a win-win for me here, because either I'm right and I'm proved right, or England win and the piss up here in England is going to be incredible. And I can't wait for that. If England win the Monday morning bank holiday, I'm going to enjoy that. Because everyone else around
win-win situation. It's only a win-win situation for you, Julio. Then
exactly.
For us Irish and Scots here, it'll be fucking a nightmare.
That's not my problem. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear this?
You guys deal with your own thing, but I know you'll enjoy it when England inevitably don't win.
Do you ever hear the Scotland parody of England's 66 Years of Hurt song?
No.
Do you ever hear that? If you haven't, you have to give it a listen. I'll send you on the link in the group chat. But every time England, I definitely will. But every time England lose a game, that's all comes into my head, and it's absolutely hilarious. So it is.
No, I think let's move on now. We'll go back on topic. Keane, I'll come to you first. Newcastle. Obviously, we've seen they've overachieved. It seems from last season they're way ahead than where they should be. We've seen Martin be on here many times and say that. What do you think is going to happen with Newcastle with Eddie Howe in the summer? Do you think he stays? Do you think he goes? Especially with the likes of Mourinho available.
Yeah, I do ultimately think Eddie Howe will go. However, I don't think it'll be the summer, though. I think he might go next season. I do think he's Newcastle's Mark Hughes in terms of where, Joe, if you remember back when Sheikh Mansour took over City, he got City to be a European side, but he didn't get him Champions League, and ultimately he left, and then Mancini came in. I do think that's eventually going to happen with Eddie Howe. Joe, I do think maybe Jose might be the manager. They might come in. Maybe they might get an Nagelsmann or someone like that. I do think they will end up getting a new manager in. It's just the case now where do they pull the trigger in the summer? Or ultimately, what I think happens is that they probably sack Eddie Howe midway through next season. Because I do think
just an update on the City game.
Yeah, Phil
It
Foden
is
scored a screamer. I just seen it there.
Now currently 4-1.
Yeah, I just seen that Phil Foden scored a screamer. But yeah, like as I was saying, I do think the rebuild, I think that Newcastle have done under the Saudis, they kind of fast tracked that last year with Champions League football and the cup final. They massively overachieved. We're seeing that this year, in terms of their squad depth being really stretched, and the results that we're seeing from them in the league. Yeah, look, I do think they'll have a new manager next season, but I don't think it'll be from the start. I do think they'll end up sacking Hill midway through the season, and then we'll see maybe Jose Mourinho, because he's been over in Saudi Arabia talking to people. Mightn't necessarily be for the Saudi league, could be the Saudis effectively over there for the Newcastle owners. So yeah, look, Jose Mourinho at Newcastle could be box office, in the Premier League. It remains to be seen.
It's fair enough. Doug, anything to add? Any disagreements? Anything you agree with?
I think Newcastle overachieved last season. I think it's safe to say that. I don't think they've had the squad all season to fight on all four fronts this season. And as well as that, they've had a lot of injuries, Newcastle. I watched the West Ham game at the weekend, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I think 2, 3, 4, 5 players of theirs collapse in the heap. A lot of them players were getting hamstrings and all this. But I kind of agree with Keane. I can't see Eddie Howe going in the summer. I think it'd be more if Newcastle have a bad start to the season next season, then I think you might see him potentially go September, October. He is a bit of a stepping stone as well. I agree with what Keane said. I do think he is the kind of City equivalent of Mark Hughes. I think Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job at Newcastle. Remember when he took over? I think they were in the relegation zone, weren't they? They were. I think they were either bottom or 19th place. I think it was. But I do think that he has taken the club as far as he can, and I think they do need fresh ideas. I don't think they'll get Europe this season, if I'm being honest. I think they've got too many injuries to deal with, and they're not consistent enough. Like last night, again, they should have won. They should have won last night, and they didn't. They drew 1-1. So I think Howe will probably be here at Newcastle by the end of the season. But I think if they start off poorly, I think the board will act and they'll get rid of them.
Fair, yeah, that's a fair analysis. I think with the likes of Jose being available, I think it is coming to the point now where the Saudis will look at what their objectives are and what the ambition is. Obviously, the ambition's always been to the top, but it's given the way they've gone into the Champions League and now they come down. Is it a case of do we act now whilst Mourinho, who there's always been this Mourinho link to Newcastle, could never win there, the Sir Bobby link, everything about
Sir Bobby. Yeah,
So
I've had a feeling that he might go to Newcastle, Jose. Following in the footsteps of obviously Bobby Robson. Bobby Robson had him as his assistant at Barcelona, so I think it only makes sense in a sort of a footballing aspect that he probably follows Sir Bobby to Newcastle.
I think with some of the stuff we've seen from Newcastle as well, Woods with the mentality, and you see some good grafters in there, and you see not dark arts, but you see that they've got a bit of bite about them. A bit
Mourinho
like Mourinho teams of old.
Mourinho would love Gordon.
Exactly, and I think it fits with Mourinho. I mean, Evan, you're like the ultimate Mourinho fanboy, aren't you? I mean, surely you agree with me, don't you?
I absolutely love Mourinho, and I think Newcastle are an era to come. I think they're a panther waiting to pounce on a prey. So I do. I think they have the financial backing. I think they're going to start I think Howe's going to stay till next season anyway. I think he's going to stay for the rest of next season, and I think after that they're going to leave the FPP all blow over, wait for the City results, and then just start pumping and throwing out money at players like it's nothing. Bringing in all these high-profile players, and with high-profile players comes a high-profile manager, and that's when you bring in Jose, and that's when you have this Newcastle era coming in. Suddenly Newcastle are the new City, like when City get charged with all these 150 all these 150 fines and absolutely just get wiped out of the Premier League altogether. Newcastle are going to be the ones that are going to replace them with all these high profile players, all this money behind them from Saudi, and you also have the high profile manager in Jose Mourinho. It's an error waiting to happen, and by God, am I fucking dreading it.
Of course, you're dreading it. You're closer to relegation than you are challenging again. So, see Mourinho.
Fuck you! You'll be down there with me. You'll be down there with me.
Not as quickly though. You're doing a very good job of tanking it so quickly. We'll move on from Newcastle. We'll come to my club, Keane's club, Evans' honorary club, if you like.
Not a
Man
hole,
United.
kid, not a hole.
Evan used to support United, sure. I used to live next door to him.
Definitely never supported United. Do you know what? Actually, there's a good segment for a topic. If you didn't support your club that you have your sport now, who would you support? There's a good question. Might be a question for another night, but
yeah, a question for another night. Yeah.
Doug, I'll come to you first as a Liverpool fan. What do you make of obviously everything in United? Do you think a change will be made? Do you think they'll stick? How are you viewing this as an actual outsider?
I'll be very surprised if Ten Hag's there by the end of the season. I think it's been highly documented that Ineos definitely wants somebody new. Obviously we've seen those Gareth Southgate rumours, which actually is very, very funny. I've seen Graham Potter being mentioned as well. I think the writing's on the wall for Ten Hag. I think it's been season to forget for you guys. He seems to be sort of not in a very good way, but it seems to be like a record-breaking season of like records that have been broken. Finishing I think 4th in the Champions League group. I think you've lost so many games at home, which is unheard of as well. I'd be very shocked if Ten Hag's there by the end of the season. I do think the change will be made, but it's who will be sort of next. I mean, I can't say for certain who it's going to be. I can't say it means Gareth Southgate. Let's be honest. I think that's just a joke as well. But whoever Ineos want, it's going to be very, very interesting. I know that obviously our good friend Reece Julio, he is Nagelsmann. So who knows? Who knows? But do I think Ten Hag's there by the end of next season? Start next season? Not a chance. I think Ten Hag will be bowing out at the end of the season. I actually think the clubs will mutually part ways as well.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think we've seen so much go on this season. It's actually been a mess. And I can see a scenario where he goes. I see a scenario where they keep him on for another year just to see out his contract. But at the same time, are Ineos sitting there looking at all the performances on the pitch and going, shall we give this guy 100 and what million to spend in the summer? I worry for Ten Hag in that regard. I'd like to see him with a proper structure, but he's literally in his own job interview at the moment, and I want him to do well. I really wanted him to come in when we were first linked with him, and he's pretty much like fighting for his job at the moment. I mean, Keane, what do you see happening? How are you looking at this as a United fan?
see, my issue with sacking Ten Hag right now is, are you going to keep the same players who've let down 3 or 4 managers already? Are you going to do that? Like, if ultimately, like, I know some of the tactics have been really bad this season. I've called it out myself here on the channel. In terms of like team setups, how we're pressing so high and then leaving the defense there, and there's a massive gap in midfield. Obviously that's been our biggest issue all year. But see, sometimes you have to take 2 steps back to go a step forward. And obviously we've had, if you isolate, we've had 53 separate injuries in the squad this season. Ultimately, that unsettles the camp in terms of having any level of consistency and any level of continuity within the team. That doesn't obviously excuse the setup in the team. I think he should be going a bit more pragmatic now, to be honest, because teams are just having shots for fun against us in every single game, and Onana is having to save us more or less in every single game since the turn of the year. So I'm reluctant to sack him, considering the options that are there. If you look at Potter, Southgate, like, fuck me, they'd be worse. They'd be way worse than Ten Hag. And then you're looking at like Roberto De Zerbi. Is he just another manager who works under a decent structure? Like, we don't know what type of structure Ineos are actually going to provide. It's very unknown. We can say, like, it's anything's better than the Glazers, which is true to an extent, but you still can't sit here and say hand on heart that they're going to get everything right. You can't say that right now. We don't know what players they're going to recruit. You don't know what players they're going to get rid of. Do they bring Mason Greenwood back? Like, there's so many unanswered questions about what Ineos are going to do in these next couple of months, including the manager, that it's just all hypotheticals, at the minute. And I think Ten Hag, when you consider how well he done last year, he deserves a chance to start next season. Now, will I be saying that if Chelsea and Liverpool hammer us in the next 2 games? My mood might change if we get battered, especially by Chelsea. Never mind Liverpool. So you can get battered by Liverpool. You can get battered by Liverpool any day, considering their forward line with Diaz and fucking Salah up there. That can happen, right? Their forward line is lethal. Whatever about the
Nunes.
Yeah, Nunes. Yeah, he's good as well. He's raw, but he's good. Like, it'd kill me to see them batter us, but you can expect it because they're a top team. Chelsea, on the other hand, are 12th in the table, and they're in much more turmoil nearly than we are. And if they batter us, that's a different story. Like, considering people have gone to Stamford Bridge, people have come to Old Trafford and got points this year. But other teams have gone to Stamford Bridge and got points as well. If we go there and get battered,
criminal how many points that other teams have got from Stamford Bridge. Absolutely criminal. It's
criminal. Bournemouth beat us 3-0 at home this season. Like, we look at United and Chelsea. I know I'm digressing.
They've been doing that to Chelsea for years.
But if you deep it though, if United get battered in these next 2 games, the mood around the fan base, the mood in the changing room, I guarantee it could all flip in his head very, very quickly.
I think regardless of being battered off in Chelsea or Coventry or Liverpool or City, I think it's suicidal to get rid of Erik ten Hag.
I wouldn't say suicidal. I wouldn't say that at all, actually.
I would say at least keep him for the rest of next season as well, regardless.
Are you saying that because you like seeing us fail?
No, it's not even that. It comes down to availability.
See, I don't believe you.
No, hand on heart.
He's not being one bit genuine as well.
No, honest God, swear down. I think he at least should stay till next season, for the rest of next season. See who comes about. If we want to wait for mid-season next year, but at least keep him for the rest of this season and at least half of
I think he deserves. Well. If you look at how he improved United post Solskjaer, right? He definitely deserves to start next season, right? He does.
Ollie deserves some credit in it too, I think.
He does, but we're not going to go there because we'll rattle half of football Twitter and they'll come on me and abuse me all evening. So we're not going to go there.
I'll support you. I'm here. I'll back you. on
it. No, but look, I think his improvement last year, getting us to 2 cup finals, and getting top 4 last year, he has credit in the bank. I think ultimately, And I just like to see a manager finally get his way and get rid of the players who've underperformed for years, and actually give a manager. I'm not saying specifically Erik ten Hag, but I'm saying a manager a chance to work under a structure, because there's been no structure at Man United since Fergie left, since David Gill left, and now supposedly we're getting football people in. I just like to see someone get a bit of time. Like, look at Arteta. I hate digressing to this, but I kind of have to look at it like with a level head here. Like, Arteta won an FA Cup and finished 8th for 2 years and got time. He was allowed to get rid of the fucking deadwood that was there, and so he could play his own way of football. Like, I think Ten Hag deserves that chance. Like, I think Ten Hag deserves that chance to get rid of players. And look, he had also him, right? I'm not absolving him of any blame whatsoever, but I'm saying one thing I will say: if Erik ten Hag does stay this season or going into next year, he has to decide one thing. A, do you want to play possession football? Or B, do you want to play transition football? It has to be one or the other. He can't try to do this blend that he's tried this season, because the setup we've seen since the Wolves game at the start of the year, the tactics have changed from last year, and he has to make up his mind as to what he wants to do. Because if he doesn't, regardless of recruitment, if the players are confused, if the training sessions are too intense, right, it's going to get to a point where, regardless of recruitment, regardless of structure, he's going to fail. He's going to have to pick a way of playing, stick to his principles, get the right players in to fit them principles, and then look, he can have a go. And if he fails, so be it. But I think right now, Manchester United, we just can't afford, to I suppose, fuck up another managerial appointment, because we've done it for so long. We've done it with Van Gaal, we've done it with Mourinho, we've done it with Solskjaer. We probably, in hindsight, sacked Moyes too early, though we didn't give him time either. So I just think with this now, these next couple of months are a very crucial period, I think, in the club's history, in terms of rebuilding, and it is going to get to a stage where Omar Barada, and co are going to have to sit there and say, what's our vision for Manchester United? What way do we want to play? How do we get back to challenging at the top of English football? And I just hope to God they have a plan, because we've been divided on for the last decade.
Can I ask just a couple of wee things? My first question is, next season, do you keep Bruno Fernandes as captain? And secondly, which players would you keep out of the current squad?
I keep Bruno's captain right now with the current squad we have. Regardless of some petulant behaviour, he has shown a lot of good leadership within the squad, especially with the younger players like Garnacho and Mainu. He's done well there.
Yeah,
I do think one of his best qualities is his availability and his work rate. He presses high. He never, apart from that game at Anfield, he never really gives up on the pitch. He always tries something. He always tries to influence the game, influence the team. So I would keep him. In terms of players, I'd probably definitely keep. It's only a fucking handful, really. I know you can't get rid of players all in one summer, but if I had
some
to
of the younger players,
yes, the players who I'd be looking at definitely keeping right now would be Rasmus Højlund, Kobbie Mainoo, Garnacho, Mason Mount. I would have said Lisandro Martinez, only for the fact his injuries, he's getting slightly more injury prone in this last year. I'd keep him for now. Diogo Dalot I'd keep. Onana I'd keep. After that, everyone else, you can't get rid of them all, but they're all under scrutiny. Do you know what I mean? That not one of them.
Yeah.
After that, in terms of the rest of our squad, none of the rest of them are safe.
I think if you look at it as well, I think United have kind of suffered with the Liverpool sort of. You remember the Liverpool 2021 season where we had all those sort of defensive injuries and we were playing so many centre back partnerships. I think we had about 18 centre back partnerships or something like that.
Yeah.
I do think as well, when Nana struggles this season, he hasn't had a balanced back four. I can't think of many games that you guys have had, and it's been like you've not really had like a balanced back four. Like none of the players are playing week in, week out. So I think Onana's struggles have been there as well. Lissandro Martinez, I can't believe he played against Brentford. I cannot believe he played against Brentford. I think as well, the fact he's got injured, it's kind of being reminiscent of us rushing back Trent, and he's got injured as well.
Yeah, it's literally like I tweeted it the day before the Brentford game. There was a story out that I don't know, was it Whitwell or Mitten or one of them lads tweeted that Lisandro Martinez has to pass a fitness test to be in the squad for Brentford. My first initial thought was, if he has to go for a fitness test, don't play him. Don't even put him in the squad and keep him for Chelsea during the week or at least Liverpool next weekend. Yeah. And lo and behold, obviously we get the injury and then we bring him on. But we had Kamwala on the bench who was 100% fit and didn't have an injury.
Mm.
You know, and again that comes down to Ten Hag. I think similar to what Solskjaer had, he was a bit desperate to get results, and he knew at this point he needed a result away to Brentford, and he took the risk, and it didn't pay off.
Yeah,
and I think that was pure desperation from him, bringing on Martinez instead of Kamwala on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with the points you make, Keane. I think, Doug, I'm glad you brought Reese into the conversation, because I had this conversation with Reese a few weeks ago on his World of Football podcast, and the one thing he said was, if a new manager comes in, if they're not challenging within the first 2 years, then it's not going to be good enough. And I think when you look at the elite managers like Klopp, the project he came into, within his first two full seasons, his team looked good, and they were an Alisson and a Fabinho away from challenging, and they went and bought those two players and challenged, because in that time Van Dijk had come in. And the issue United have got, I actually think Reese is right with that point. I think it's a very good point. I think it's getting to the point now where I'm getting fed up with people going, let's get a manager in like Potter, let's go for a process of 4 or 5 years. The likes of Potter and other on that list have not done anything for me that they warrant the opportunity of Manchester United. When we were linked with Pochettino a few years ago, he'd done well at Southampton, went to Spurs, which was a fair step up, did well at Spurs, and that's the point where you go, right, the step up to United is a big step up, but it's a worthy opportunity. Not Brighton, Chelsea, fail at Chelsea no matter how much the mess is, and now you're living off your Brighton days. That for me is not good enough. I think if United were to make a change, it would have to go down the City approach, like they brought in Mancini. You bring in a guy who knows how to win. How long was he there? 3 years? 3.5 years? One trophy, league title. And then when the results weren't there, but the team was built. It was a team built for now. A good culture in that dressing room with the likes of Toure, Silva. Company obviously came just before the new owners came in, but then even the likes of Carlos Tevez, winners, Aguero, players who could win a game on their own. But it was a very good dressing room. And then Pellegrini comes in, and that team naturally evolves. And then Pep comes in, and there's a natural evolution within the 10-year period. And I think if United were to go down that road, they would have to get in someone who could do that. Who it is, I've mentioned the name Carlo Ancelotti, which people probably look at like, come on, where are you getting this name from? How? If United called Ancelotti, I think he'd consider it. He's been in this kind of job before with PSG. He was the first manager PSG had in their new ownership. He built a team based off quality Serie A players, which United could do with the likes of Ligue 1, the Portuguese league, and Premier League players like outside the top six. Like if Ancelotti is approaching his 4th year at Real Madrid, he's got time on his side. He could definitely do 4 or 5 years at United. If we had a good structure above him, our centre-backs in 4 or 5 years' time could well be, for instance, Lissandro Martinez, Branthwaite, Todibo, and let's say Bremer, for example, from Juve. But they all fit. So I think the issue that we've all got as United fans is a change necessary? Maybe. Who knows? There's no candidate for it. There's no obvious candidate, and that's
I'll put
we've
it to you
got.
this way, Julio, before we finish. Right. You look at Graham Potter's CV. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more or less had the same CV as he had before he came to United. And a lot of people said Solskjaer didn't have the CV to manage Man United. So for all these people who are sucking Graham Potter off saying he'll be the man to come in, he has less qualifications what Solskjaer had coming in, really, more or less. Because Solskjaer actually managed at United before he came here. He's with the 23s. He won a title with Molde. Albeit that, look, that's not a barometer to come into Man United, but he won more trophies than what Graham Potter won before coming to Man United. So I'd keep him well away from our football club. Well away. Southgate, keep him well away.
I think it has to be someone who's got the pedigree for a big club.
Sorry, my phone that you died there. What you say?
I was saying that it has to be. I think the final word I'm going to put is, if a change is to be made, it has to be someone who's got the pedigree, who's got the CV to warrant a big job at United. I mentioned Ancelotti because he's been big clubs, and everywhere he's gone, he's improved players. He made Calvert-Lewin look like a £70 million striker for a year and a half. Everton should have sold when they had the chance, because he was never that before or since. The guy gets on with it, and he knows how to win, and he does it in style. His teams play very nice, fluid attacking football. He did it with the defensively aging Chelsea side in 2010. He knows what it's like to be at a big club. So I think that someone with that kind of CV, that kind of pedigree, I think should be, if a change is to be made, why not go best in class? You're poaching Barada from City. Why not poach someone who Jean-Claude Blanc hired for PSG? I don't know. I think, should we wrap it up there, lads, for the evening?
Yeah, I think I'm more maxed out talking about Man United, to be honest, because we've talked about the Liverpool game on Friday, and I'm telling you now, it could be a whole different ball game depending on that Chelsea result, how I'm feeling going into that Liverpool game. Because if we lose badly to Chelsea, the morale is just going to be zapped out of me. I think it was zapped out of me after Mason Mount getting that goal, and then conceding so early and looking how far behind the defensive line Wan-Bissaka was. My head was just wrecked, thinking, how can you be so away from your defensive line? How aren't you holding the line? So yeah, look, it's interesting. Look, it could be interesting to see what happens with United and Liverpool. I think it's the changes that could happen with both clubs. It's going to probably determine how well their rebuild goes in the next decade. And Chelsea, they sack a manager every year, so or every 2 years, so we don't know what the crack is there. But yeah, it's just a case of waiting and seeing, and hopefully we don't get it wrong, because there's so many clubs on the rebuild. Arsenal have stability. Liverpool have a good backroom staff on the board. City will probably buy lawyers like Harvey Specter and get away with fucking the 115 charges. So, yeah, I do think we're just going to have to try to get these appointments right, because if any of these clubs with rich history in the Premier League are going to have to stay at the top, or in our case, get back to the top, we have to get it right, and we have to be strategic on that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your Harvey Specter point. City, whoever City have got as a lawyer, they've already tried to play the man rather than the odds. They've already said this guy supports Arsenal. That's why he's throwing these charges at us. They already did that last season. So who knows? Doug, an hour's flown by, and we're going to wrap up now. Thank you so much for coming on. So good to see you, my friend. Where can people find you?
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for obviously keen for asking me, and it was good to catch up with you guys. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting summer, because I think there will be a bit of a managerial merry-go-round, as many people have predicted. So yeah, my channel right there, the Dugout Football channel. I think I've got it right that way. Yeah, Dugout Football channel on YouTube. I am Enrod_1992 on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Instagram, Douglas.Horn. And I'm actually on Facebook as well, Douglas James Horn. And TikTok as well, Douglas Horn LFC 92. There you go.
No worries. Keen, if you're still with us, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter there, United_Keen23. If you want to abuse me over my opinions about United, just don't go under there and we can have a bit of crack. But yeah, look, do subscribe to the channel. We've the Chelsea review tomorrow, and then we do have the Liverpool preview on Friday. Gary Egan, Liverpool fan, is making his long-awaited return to the channel. He was one of the founding members of the Weekly Armchair, so it'd be great to see an old head come back on the channel on Friday. And yeah, look, just don't forget this video is sponsored by Manchester Mind, mental health charity based in Manchester. Obviously, it's always important to check on your friends, your family, your loved ones. So do, if you are in the local area in Manchester, do contact Manchester Mind if you do need a hand. And yeah, they do fantastic work. And if you're not from Manchester but do need some direction on where to go, they can also point you out that way as well. So do check that out as well. And thanks very much, Julio, for hosting on such short notice as well. You've done a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you can find me there at Julio Leschi on X. You'll find me on here, and you'll find me on here with my new haircut. So hopefully it grows on everyone. But yeah, from all of us here on Talk of the League tonight, wish you a very good evening. Stay tuned to what the content the channel is doing for the rest of the week and next week and the week after. It's going to be a busy end to the season. But yeah, from all of us, have a good night, everyone.